Certainly early on, whippings were the housing. There's not a whole lot
This is kind of halfway stuff. I can't even make it down.
involved in all of that. So you can answer all around us. This is the African American burial ground at Mount Vernon. This is one of them. There are very likely at least two more. One that we think we know where it is. The other was on one of the outlying farms, and frankly we have no idea where it was. Archaeology was done here back in the mid-80s, only to the extent that we did a ground-penetrating radar survey. And they identified about 50 anomalies running basically along this ridge in this direction that they believed were graves. And there are lots of accounts and references to the graveyard in this area. We have two accounts in our library of individuals who came here and said that they saw depressions where graves were, and that there were some grave markers at that time. Now, we don't know specifically the names of anybody specifically who was buried here. We know a lot, obviously there are records of slaves who died here at Mount Vernon, and obviously they are all, potential candidates for being buried here. But there's no, actual one-to-one correspondence, that there was a burial here. This that you're seeing here, this memorial was put in 1983. There's another one over here, another stone that was put in 1929 by the Ladies Association. The one here from 1983 was the result of a design competition in association with Howard University. Starting in and it was dedicated in 1983. Beginning in 1993, the 10th anniversary of the creation of the memorial, we have worked every year with a local women's group, Black Women United for Action, which is a local service group, and they work with us, and we organize a rededication every year in September. So you may see that. Actually, it was this summer this year for some reason. They moved it up to July. Almost always it's in September, and they rededicate the memorial in memory of the slaves who worked here at Mount Vernon. Questions about that? Somebody was asking me about burial practices, and certainly what we're seeing here is more elaborate than probably most places, but it fits into the model pretty well. Usually there's a family burial ground, a vault sometimes, but usually not, just an actual cemetery that's beyond sort of the work area. Oftentimes, if the plantation is located on a river like this one, oftentimes located above the river. And the same thing kind of goes with African American burial grounds. On a large plantation like this one, you would expect that there would be more than one, because it's such a large plantation and it's spread out. And as I said, we think from documents there's evidence that there were at least 3 here. This probably was the main one, and then 2 others in outlying areas. We've done, as I said, no archaeology here, other than the ground-penetrating radar, nor do we have any plans to do archaeology. That's not because it would not be a very interesting archaeological project, but we've decided that the disturbance of the remains, is not justified by the evidence that we would find. So instead, it's simply going to be left as it is. What's the life expectancy? Professor Berlin, do you have any?
Oh, I would guess probably into their 30s, perhaps.
We do have, in 1799, when Washington inventories the slaves here, and it's not a complete, unfortunately, it's not a complete listing of ages, but it's a partial listing of ages, and certainly it's all over the map. There are a surprisingly high number of very old individuals, you know, at least listed there, you know, as being in their 60s.
Probably child mortality rates are extraordinarily high, which lowered. But then if you live into your 30s, then probably you have a good chance of, because you probably got resistance to every known disease that's been kicking around the Chesapeake by then. But you've got to make it, to your 30s, and most people don't do that.
And the same thing to a degree goes for the white population. And again, child mortality is very high. Once you get beyond that certain stage, the chances are pretty good. George Washington was 67 years old when he died, and Martha she lived 2 more years. I think she was 2 years older than he was. To begin with, when she was 71. The Washingtons were remarkably short-lived. He was the only, all of his siblings, I believe, died for him, even though many of them were younger than he was. His father died when he was 43, and his grandfather died fairly young as well. So Washington comments on this, that he doesn't expect to live very long because the Washingtons are short-lived.
This is obviously below the ground level. When they evacuated this to build this, did they find any artifacts?
Well, I wasn't here then, and I don't know how they did it. There's no record of that. It's very likely that they hadn't done the remote sensing survey at that point, so they didn't know exactly where the graves were. We know that they concentrate along this area here. We don't know that there might be graves in this area. The likelihood is that they're deeper than this would have been, but we don't know that for certain. Okay, this is the last break. Now we're going to walk you.